Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to Patriot Pets. My name is Lake Green. I'm your host, and happy Saturday. Today we are going to check out this third weekend of July another local cemetery. This one largely forgotten and very lonely. We are on Squankum Yellowbrook Road in Farmingdale, New Jersey, a borough in the middle of Howell Township, and today we are checking out the Brewer Cemetery, established in 1810. We are on Squankum Yellowbrook Road. A lot of traffic behind me, and this is it. Just a small little cemetery. There's a farmhouse down that way. Cars coming by. That's my vehicle. And that's it. Alright, so without further ado, let's check it out. So before we begin our walk through the cemetery, I wanted to mention that there is no history that I could find about the origins of this cemetery. I went all over the internet on the archives of the township and I found nothing. No word of when the grounds were designated as a burial plot. No word on who established it, if there was a man of importance, a family of importance that donated their own land here, or if it was just simply public land that was created to house the dead. There was no information, and I thought that by walking around here today I would be able to find the Brewer name, but it appears just in quick glancing I don't even see any. So possibly a theory could be is that the man or the family surname that began burials here had the surname Brewer, which was a common surname and one that I had seen at the Bethesda Cemetery over on Wycoff Road in Freehold. So let's check it all out. Alright, so after just walking around a little bit, I've already noticed that many of these graves are very dilapidated. The shade is definitely probably helping for all you nature people. This region of New Jersey, the coastal plain, is really sandy, loamy soil, so the trees are pretty much limited to pines and pin oaks. So that's why this is the tip of the Pine Barrens that runs all the way through South and Southwest New Jersey. This is the start. But this right here I thought was worth noting. This is a family plot, this gated portion here, and the name is Havens. Havens, so Havens, and I guess it's just a line of burials here. They all seem to be births between 1845 and 1853, and deaths are varied, but they all were born around the same time. So this is a single generation of the Havens family. And if you're a native of Howell, New Jersey, but even if you're not, I'll tell you, you'd know the name, because Havens Bridge Road on the corner of Casino Drive and Lemon Road, Havens Bridge Road, might bear the family name. That could be a possibility. That's where they may have lived, or very likely, you know, Havens Bridge, Havens. That's just a thought. That's also where I attended elementary school, Griebling Elementary here. So if you're from Howell and you went to Griebling, this could be the family that originally lived on the street. Very cool. So this next grave is interesting. As we've been to many cemeteries around the area, we've seen a lot of Civil War vets, and especially of the 14th New Jersey Infantry, like this one. If you watched my video last week at the schoolhouse, I talked about the 14th New Jersey and the fact that they fought at the Battle of Monocacy, Maryland in 1864. That was a crucial battle that prevented General Jubal Early and his Army of the South from marching unopposed to Washington, D.C. Could have changed the course of the war, and the 14th took the most casualties out of any regiment engaged at that battle that day. So they served admirably, commendably, and etched them. These Freehold, Howell, and Farmingdale men etched their names into the history books. But this grave is worth noting because I do the research. I go on the muster rolls on the internet, and this man's name is Corporal Charles H. Stokey. He was a corporal in Company A of the 14th. He enlisted as the regiment was being formed up as a volunteer on August 4th, 1862, and only a few months later, 4 months and 7 days, on December 11th, 1862, or no, make that 9 days, December 13th, 1862, he died of measles at Monocacy, which I guess coincidentally or ironically or whatever you want to say, a year later, many of his companions would fall in battle at that very location. So rest in peace, Corporal Stokey. Thank you for your service, and you are not forgotten. And just panning here, there's a lot of Stokeys buried, so this could have been a location for family burials for a long time. Stokey family, an early family of Farmingdale, and there's Charles. May he rest in peace along with all of his family members. All right, another Civil War veteran here, Mr. John Fielder of Company K, a private in the 29th New Jersey Infantry Regiment. The 29th New Jersey Infantry Regiment, unlike the 14th, was only a 9-month service regiment. The 14th was a long term. That was a 3-year service regiment. They were only a 9-month regiment, the 29th. And originally, it was what happens how the Civil War regiments are recruited and organized is what states had to meet a certain amount of quota. It had to fill a quota. They had a certain number of men had to be drafted or enlisted into the army. Now, the draft was not imposed until 1863 of the summer, and if you're a history buff, you know what happened in New York City with the New York draft riots, and it did not go well. But in the early war, many men flocked to enlist, and in 1862, the 29th was organized at Camp Vredenburg, the camp over on what is now a Monmouth battlefield. So most New Jersey regiments of Monmouth County trained at Camp Vredenburg, and it was literally on the fields of Monmouth battlefield. So the battlefield we visited a couple of weeks back, they trained Civil War regiments there as well. The 14th, the 29th, any Monmouth County regiment was there. I don't know if there was any more. There might have been 1 or 2 more. But the 29th was a 9-month service regiment, and John Fielder was a private in Company K. He served for his full term of 9 months, enlisting on September 1st, 1862, and mustered out on June 30th of the following year. He did his 9 months. He fought at Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the Battle of Chancellorsville. Fredericksburg was in December, a massive Union defeat, and Chancellorsville was also a massive Union defeat in May of 1863. Fought in 2 major engagements, survived, and went home. Thank you, John, for your service. So these 3 graves have a very sad story. This is Abraham D. Van Duzen. He was a private in Company K of the 29th New Jersey, so maybe he also knew John Fielder over there. They were in the same company. And he was 40 years old when the war broke out, born on July 23rd, 1822, and he died on September 23rd, 1887. So 23, I guess that's a lucky and unlucky number for him. Born and died in the same numerical day. And he served the full 9 months with the 29th New Jersey, fought at Chancellorsville and at Fredericksburg, enlisted on September 4th, 1862, and was discharged on June 30th with John Fielder. So they definitely knew each other, at least by acquaintances. They served together in the same company, and the company consisted of about 100 men maximum. So they definitely knew each other, and they saw combat together. But this is the sad part. So although he was a 40-year-old man, he served his 9 months and came home. Only 3 years later, at the close of the war, 2 months after its end, his wife and his young son His son was only 2 years old, and his wife was 25, and they both died. His son on June 14th, 1865. His young son Abraham, named after himself, and his wife Mary. Maybe there was a sickness. That's an indicator that there was a sickness, a fever, something in summer, a summer sickness that within 11 days took the life of their young child and his wife. So this is a very sad reality for Mr. Abraham, and he outlived all of them. So may they all rest in peace. Thank you for your service, and I'm sorry for this unfortunate loss. Alright, so the last grave we'll do here individually is Josiah Raymond and his wife buried here, Sarah Raymond. So in memory of Josiah Raymond, who died on July 14th, 1860, aged 70 years, 5 months and 15 days. And he was a veteran of the War of 1812, so he would have been 22 years old at the war when the war broke out, and he served his country. So thank you, Josiah. And there's his wife, Sarah. And a long life of 70 years. Not long by today's standards, by those. Today's standards still pretty fair, but then definitely lengthy. And the family names buried here is the Hurleys, Riddle, Bone, and Marks. A couple other family names that I've passed through here that I did not mention earlier were Conovers and others. So this has been the Brewer Cemetery. So important that we remember our history, folks, and those who came before us. Thanks so much for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. My name's Lake Green with Patriot Paths.